This is a presentation about Internet neutrality. First, we're going to start with the concept of net neutrality. Internet service providers and governments regulating most of the Internet must treat all Internet traffic or data equally. They must not discriminate or charge differentially depending on the user, content, website, or method of communication. Now we're going to see some Internet neutrality cases. The first real case of the debate was the Madison River case in 2005. Vonage, a voice-over-IP service provider, complained to the FCC about Madison River, a telecommunications service provider that was blocking Vonage services to their subscribers. After the FCC's mediation, Madison River committed in writing not to block any service and paid a fine of $15,000. The second case we're going to see is Comcast versus FCC in 2007. Comcast began to block peer-to-peer traffic. The FCC reported the practice and started an investigation. The FCC sanctioned Comcast. Then Comcast pleaded to the U.S. Court of Appeals, reasoning that the FCC was not competent to establish rules on network neutrality. The U.S. Court of Appeals resolved in favor of Comcast. It appeared that there was a need to elaborate legal rules that were legally binding. As legal rules were needed to regulate net neutrality, Julius Genachowski, FCC president, announced in September 2009 the beginning of the procedures for net neutrality rules. As years have passed and new cases have come to the light, FCC has created and adapted the rules, making their position much stronger in the net neutrality grounds. Now we're going to see some arguments in favor of net neutrality. The first one is the freedom of expression and right to information. As we can see in the image, a non-neutral internet would only show information of interest to the user's internet service provider, so users wouldn't have the possibility to access some information. An extreme example could be how some communist countries restrict most of the traffic. The second argument is the limited competition between network providers. A very clear trend is observed in the image, and it's clear that the lack of competition gives the cable companies the freedom to adjust the prices charged to their users. The third argument is the innovation without permission, giving preference to those who pay extra, making high-speed internet available for a small fraction of internet users. And the final argument is the consumer's harm. Here there's a concept called double dipping. In this case, both businesses and end users are charged by cable companies. So basically, cable companies are taking advantage of their position. Now we're going to see some arguments against. The first one is the threat to network investments. Companies have invested large quantities of money in infrastructure, so the idea of giving free access to their infrastructure is not realistic. The second argument is the fallacy of equality. Some companies provide different types of links, such as private peering or multi-homing. Others may provide direct routes to their users through a content delivery network. This means that each company handles different loads, and they should charge their users in consequence of these loads. The third argument against net neutrality is the inefficient value allocation that is related to quality of service. Now, here in this table, we can see that each application has a different transmission capacity. So, it would be pointless to give every application the same transmission parameters, as it would produce a slow and inefficient network. The last argument is the innovation in network infrastructure. As networks evolve, new services with different priorities arise. As we can see in the image, the healthcare slice would have a low data load but a very high priority, and the Internet of Things slice would have a very high data load but a very low priority.